Hi, good morning. My name is Dr. Raja Adnan Ahmed, and I am a psychiatrist working in UK. And this morning, I have the pleasure of having Dr. Maryam Ali with me. Maryam is a graduate of Rawalpindi Medical University from Pakistan. And the reason I'm doing this interview is because she's one of those doctors who were able to secure the UK Foundation program. So she only graduated in 2020, earlier last year. And now she's going to be starting her foundation training from F1 year from the August of 2021. So I think this is something a lot of IMGs ask, that is this route open to IMGs, or is this route feasible, or how should we go about it? So I thought it's a good idea to get someone who's actually done it recently, so to give us some first-hand advice. So thank you very much, Mariam, for joining me and giving me your time.
Thank you so much for having me.
So Mariam, if I ask you, the first question I'll ask you around, if you don't mind telling us about your medical journey so far and what have you done?
Yeah, so I basically was brought up in the UK, and then I went to medical college in Pakistan by my own choice. So I went through 5 years of medicine. I think the first 2 years were quite difficult for me to fit in, and then the last 3 years were quite fun, and you make friends and you learn the ways. So that was quite interesting. Extracurricular-wise, I was always into sort of drama. I did drama for my GCSEs. I did it throughout sort of medical college. Our college became university. There were opportunities to do research as well. So there was medicine, and then there was a lot of things that you had to carry along with it, which was quite fun actually.
And you graduated in 2020.
Yeah, I did, just pre-COVID.
All right, and you have secured a post in as in UK Foundation program starting in can you take us through the process of how did you do that?
Yeah, oh, this is going to be a long one.
Okay.
So I had always thought that I'm going to do my house job and then I'm going to apply for F2. Like that was what was in my brain from day one, because I knew I wanted to come back. But I wasn't very sure on the F1 process. But in my 4th year of medical school, I came back here and I did ENT clinical attachment with some lovely people in Wickham Hospital. And one of the recurrent themes that the doctor was saying, that we would want someone who's been in the system from the start. So someone who's done F1 here, someone who's been here. So that got me thinking. And then, my family was like, come back, you do your house job here. So I did my research and I realized that you can actually apply for foundation program. And the fact that you haven't graduated from the UK doesn't make a difference to you. So just like a couple of misconceptions, whether you graduate in the UK or not doesn't make a difference. Whether English is your first language or not doesn't make a difference. Whether you're a British citizen or you're not a British citizen doesn't actually make a difference. So I'll talk you through my whole journey. So I graduated, I finished my exams in January 2020. And then in February 2020, I gave my Ielts exam before I actually even got my results. I got my result on the day of my Ielts exam, actually. So the different thing that you need for F1, like a foundation program, compared to having a GMC registration in general, is your Ielts score. So normally you need a 7 in every category and a 7.5 overall. But to apply for F1 or F2 standalone, you need to have a 7.5 in each category and a 7.5 overall. And I was able to secure that. So that was my Ielts. And then I got my results in Feb, and then so on and so forth. And I booked my PLAB as quick as I could, and I got my PLAB in September in Islamabad. So I thought I have long time in between. It'll look funny if I haven't done anything. So I thought, okay, I'll do 3 months of house job. I might just pick up on some skills. And I was really glad I did. I did 3 months in general medicine. And then I finished general medicine in August. So the whole of that August month was for me to prepare for PLAB. And then I had my PLAB on September 10th. Now, August, I prepared for it. And then at the end of August, I got an email from GMC saying, unfortunately, because of COVID, your PLAB has been cancelled in Pakistan. And I was so devastated. I was like, I've studied for it. What am I going to do? So I quickly booked one in London and I flew out the next day. I just finished self-quarantine the day before my exam. I gave my PLAB 1 exam in September, and then I had nothing to do. So I thought, okay, why don't I join academy? Because I have to do PLAB 2 anyways. So at that time, I didn't realize, how scarce PLAB 2 seats were and so on and so forth. So I just did academy. And while I was doing academy, it was all online anyways, my PLAB 1 result came. And then I looked and there were absolutely no PLAB 2 seats. And then when they did start releasing PLAB 2 seats, they were in that phase of people who hadn't cancelled. Like there was no chance I was getting a PLAB 2 seat. What the UK Foundation Programme recommends is that you should have done PLAB 1 by November. and you should have done PLAB 2 by the end of August. Sorry, by the end of May, and you should have registration when you begin in August. So PLAB 2, I was like, oh, okay. But anyways, I did academy, and then I waited. I didn't really know what to do, so I waited. And then talking more about PLAB 2, how I actually got a PLAB 2 seat, that there is a whole shortage of PLAB 2 seats right now. But people who are applying for a foundation program shouldn't be worried, because what happened was the UK foundation program actually emailed the GMC and got in contact. And then the GMC emailed me and they said, we know that you are going to have a job in August. So we're going to put you on a priority list. So in December, when nobody had seats and nobody had open to seats, people who were in the foundation program were able to go onto the GMC website and book a PLAB 1 exam. So I just finished, PLAB 2. So I just did my PLAB 2 in Feb and I passed that this week. So that was my PLAB 2 exam. So talking about applications for foundation programs, now the only thing different that IMGs have to do is we have to go through the eligibility office, which is something that graduates from here don't have to do. Now, to be able to apply, to be able to be eligible for your foundation program, you need a couple of things. And the only thing that you actually really need is your Ielts. So you should have an Ielts with the required score. That's the only thing you need. You don't need a PLAB, you don't need PLAB 2, and you don't need anything. So you need a degree, an Ielts, and a dean statement that you get from university. So that process is done from August through to September. I think 2nd of September, the applications close. And then sort of a few weeks later, they tell you if you are either eligible, you are eligible with conditions, or you're ineligible. So eligible, usually like medical graduates in the UK are just completely eligible, saying that they have passed and they've got registration. And then people like us are eligible with conditions. So our condition was to have passed PLAB 2 and had a registration, or you're ineligible. So if you don't meet the criteria, so you don't have the Ielts or something like that, then you'd be ineligible and you can apply again next year. Or you could appeal that. That's the process. So once you have eligibility, then you go into the pool of people wanting to do UKFPO like everybody else in this whole country. So what happens next is in sort of November time, you will get an email from Oriel, like you have to make an account on Oriel. You get an email saying that you're applying for UKFP. We'd like to invite you to book for the SJT exam, which is situational judgment test, which is the only other test that you have to do. The SJT I'm very biased about. I think it's just a number generating machine, honestly. It's basically an ethical exam. It's nothing difficult that you have to study for. It's about being able to judge what is right and what is wrong. And the GMC has lots of guidelines and you should be able to, pick up on those guidelines and so on and so forth. So I did my the SJT in December. And now there's 2 windows for SJT. There's one in December and there's one in January. And then once you've done the SJT, you can carry on with your journey. So I had my PLAB 2 after my SJT, so I was preparing for that. Now in March this year, so on the 11th of March, we got our allocations. So basically they will tell you where you rank. Now, ranking is quite complicated, so I'll tell you how that works. So everyone is ranked out of 100. 50 of those are your educational performance measures, EPM they're called, EPM points, and then 50 of those points, 50 of the other points are for your SJT. So that SJT exam is 50 points, let's put that to one side. And then the other 50 points is what you can control, which is your EPM. So EPM, 43 marks are for what you've done in university, so where you rank. So this is important for anyone who wants to do UKFP. It's really important that you are ranking at the top of your university. So this might be helpful to medical students who want to do it now. So what they do is they will ask you to ask your university what decile you rank in. So everybody, your marks from all 5 years of your exams will be put together and then they'll rank you. So the top sort of 10% are in the first decile, the next 10% is the next decile, so on and so forth. So the first decile get 43 points, the next decile get 42, the next decile, third decile will get 41, so on and so forth. That's 43 marks. And then you have 7 other marks that you can get. Now, 2 of those marks are for research. So 1 mark for each published research you have. So those 2 marks. And then the other 5 marks are for having another degree. Now, that depends. So if you have a PhD or a master's, that sort of be 5 marks. And then if you have an unclassified degree, that'll be 1 mark. You have a BSc honours, that'll be like 2 or 3 marks. There is a guidance on there. So that's the EPM you will find out before you do SJT. But your SJT scores, you will find out the day you get your allocation. So they put your SAT score, they put your EPM together, and then everybody's applied is ranked. And then, you know, then your applications, basically, this is very confusing, I'll just get into, but after you're eligible, you will make an oral account, like I said, and you can put your application in, and in your application, just write, you know, your basic details. And the important thing is you rank deaneries. So all the deaneries in the UK, you know, do your research where you want to go. Like for me, what was important was staying at home. So you rank all your deaneries, and you rank them from top to bottom, top being like where you want to work, and you know, you cannot rank a deanery if you didn't want to work there, or so on and so forth. So on the 11th of March, you find out which deanery you got into. So I got into my third preference, and it was good because it's quite a competitive deanery as well, actually. But I wanted to stay at home, and I'm going to stay at home for the next 2 years. Now, we've got down the 11th of March. From the 11th of March to the 30th of March, we now rank jobs. So again, they'll tell you these are all the foundation programs there is a very, very long list, and there's a huge Excel sheet that you want to go through, but there's all the hospitals in your deanery, all the jobs available in the hospital. So you rank those. And then again, depending on, you know, your overall score and where you ranked in your deanery, that same algorithm works, and they'll tell you, you know, what job you've gotten into. So I haven't found that out yet. So I know I have an allocation, but on the 8th of April, I'll find out what job I have. I've passed my PLAB 2, and that was because UKFP, and then the GMC are going to give me registration hopefully, and then you just basically need to hold registration by August. It doesn't matter when you do your PLAB 1 or when you do your PLAB 2, as long as you have a provisional registration to practice by August, you're good.
Thank you very much for sharing your journey and all the advice. So it seems like that you need to be planning this ahead, you know, because there are quite a different steps you have informed us about.
Yeah.
That your medical school scores will count, and where you were ranking in your medical school will count. So if an IMG wants to work in UK, you know, they need to start thinking about that from that time. And then you need to be aware of the UK Foundation Program dates, because then you need to plan your Ielts and your PLAB accordingly as well.
Yeah.
And as you said, you know, Ielts could be a very big hurdle, because 7.5 scoring 7. I think I can see English is sort of almost your first language, so it wouldn't be a problem for you to pass and score high on Ielts. But a lot of IMGs will find this a little bit difficult to do. You know, they could get 7.5 in every domain. And they might have to take a few more attempts to sort of get there. And then you mentioned about doing your PLAB 1 in certain window. You know, that was from August to September. Did you say that?
They want you to have done PLAB 1 by November, just so that you have enough time from then on to take time to practice for PLAB 2 and do PLAB 2. It's not like a done and dust. If you don't do it by November, we're not going to give you anything. As long as you have it booked, and even, I know it's COVID times and they understand that too. Like the UK Foundation Program are so nice, honestly. You email them and they'll email you straight away with anything you want to know. Just a few things I didn't say I'd like to let people know is when you've graduated, you will be applying for UK Foundation Program for the following year. So people who are, you know, in the UK, their universities apply for them, it's easier for them like that. But people who are IMGs, so I graduated 2020, I was applying for the 2021 program. Now in the UK Foundation Program office have a website, and anything you could want to know is on that website. Now in April, they bring out something called their high time timeline, something like that. So that's like a spreadsheet, and it tells you all the important dates. You know, SAT is going to be here, allocations are going to be here, eligibility office applications open here, this and that. And in May, they bring out the UK Foundation Program Applicants Handbook. That is like your manual to UK Foundation Program application, the program itself and everything. So keep an eye out if you want to apply this year for April and May on the UKFP website, and they'll tell you everything.
So the other thing I was going to ask you, you know, the SJT you mentioned, is that something that the UK graduates do as well?
Yeah, everyone does it. Yeah.
So you are basically going in a process which the UK graduates are doing already, and you're kind of competing with them. So you need to.
Exactly, yeah. So that's a very big misconception, you know. People are like, oh, they're from the UK, they'll get in. It doesn't matter. Just because I speak English well or I'm from here doesn't make a difference. They don't know that. So you are, you know, once you're eligible, you are the exact same place as someone who has graduated from Oxford. It doesn't matter. You are in the exact same place.
Okay. So So if somebody is looking at that route in particular, is there any other advice? I mean, I think it will be more useful for medical students, as you were already mentioning. If you have to do that, go via this route. Maybe you start thinking around that time. Have you
Yeah.
got any more advice for that?
I have lots of advice. So as I mentioned, anyone that I had always asked has always said, no, do your house job and come here. So I think one advice would be, don't be disheartened because somebody says so. I think it's just a general trend that everybody does internships and apply for a GMC4 license. So they don't know much about applying for a provisional license. So I don't think that people are trying to dishearten you. I think they just don't have the knowledge to be able to tell you. So just because someone says no doesn't mean it's a no. Second thing would be to please do your research. The UK Foundation Programme has everything that you would want to know on their website. Apply, even if you are doing house job, still apply. Maybe you will be eligible, maybe you'd want to go onto this route, maybe you won't, you can carry on with the house job. There's nothing wrong with applying. Another thing would be, as I mentioned, the EPM scores is the only thing that you can actually control. The SJT is a weird exam, to be honest with me. So the EPM, like work hard, rank in the top deciles, that's really, really important. Try and do researches and get them published. So published research is important. It's not just having research, so something on PubMed or something like that. Those are 2 marks, like each mark literally really, really counts. Another thing would be to degree. So I did a BSc English, and everyone has been a Pakistan probably done a BSc English. I only got 1 mark for that, but it's a 1 mark, and 1 mark makes a hell of a difference when you come test you, because you're literally ranked in 3 decimals. And then the last thing I want to advise people is ask around, Google. There are people, so I've done it. Anyone who needs help can ask me. There's IMG Marvels on YouTube. I watch their videos, SJT, and watch their journey. I just want to say it is very, very competitive, but it's not impossible. I do know, like, there's 2 other people with me who got an allocation. I know people who haven't got an allocation, but there is a reserve list, and those people eventually get allocations as well. So it's competitive, but it's not impossible. So like, don't be disheartened and give it a try. There's nothing wrong with trying. And if you know that in the future, I want to go to the UK and I want to work there, then it's really, really good. And it's really good on your CV when you're applying for further jobs that you've started from the beginning.
Yeah. I think there's no doubt. If you start from F1, then all of your training is from UK. Because I started as a FY2 standalone, and I think that always gave me the advantage of knowing the system from the basic before I went into training.
Definitely.
The other thing I was going to ask you, if somebody's already done their house job or already doing their house job, would they be eligible for FY1, or that is something the GMC will not count?
So if you have done 12 months of internship, then you would apply for a full license. You couldn't apply for a provisional license then. So I'm not really sure about that, because you need to have not done house job. That is one of the conditions for you to get a provisional license.
Okay. And I don't know if you come across with some people with gaps, because some people contact me and sort of say that, although I've done a medical degree, but I have got this gap, and quite a lot of time when they actually go to GMC, the GMC asks them for when they pass PLAB, GMC don't give them full registration and ask them to start from FY1. Is that something that you have came across, people with gap?
I know. One of my friends is she's graduated a year before myself, and so if you have graduated like sort of more than 2 years ago, and you've had that gap where you were not working in a medical capacity in the UK, you would need to do a clinical assessment, it's called. So that's just another exam that you do. It's like it's kind of like PLAB 2-ish, but you do it on real patients. So it's just that you would do that 1 extra exam if you've graduated a long time ago. That again, that's everything that eligibility office will tell you, that you've graduated this time and you need to do this exam, or you don't. So having gaps, really, I think this is a good thing about F1 is I've not sort of worked in a medical capacity since last year. So that's quite a long gap for me just to be studying, but that doesn't matter because I've been studying for my exam, and I know that I have a training post coming up, and they don't really require you to have done medical capacity, anything in a medical capacity before.
Okay. Thank you very much for joining me and all your advice. I'm sure a lot of people will find it very useful and sort of look at that path when they are actually in their medical school. Thank you again, Maryam, for joining me.
Thank you so much. It's lovely to talk to you.